your view on this foreign aid bill, giving all the money, as the Senate wants to do, to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. What do you say?
Well, first, let me say, I do acknowledge Brother Mark being in solidarity with human suffering. I think that's a wonderful thing. The question is, what is the framework? You see, be it Ukraine, be it Israel, do we have to understand the nature of each battle? The NATO expansion leads toward a provocation of then the Russian criminal invasion, and that war can go on and on and on. It could lead to World War III. So I call for an end to the war in Ukraine and diplomatic process so that Russia and Ukraine would be able to reach some kind of agreement to give Russia the security it deserves and give Ukraine the freedom it deserves. Of course, in Israel, we've got genocide taking place. We've got very ugly, barbaric genocidal attacks taking place. And now you pull the lifeline with the pullback of the humanitarian aid to precious Palestinians who are awaiting even more genocidal attack. And I hear Biden say, well, we want to be on the right side of history. We ought to take responsibility. Well, it's clear that he's on the wrong side of morality when it comes to genocide. I don't care who the victims are. They can be Tutsis, they can be Armenians, they could be Congolese, or they can be indigenous people in America. Genocide is a immoral, indescribable evil, and we have to be honest about that. And unfortunately, Biden is enabling that. That makes him a war.
You're on the it makes him a war criminal. That's the language you've been using now. That's how you see. I mean, those are strong words, as you know.
Those very strong words, and I'm not using those words out of any hatred. I'm using those words that when he says that Iran supports these proxies and therefore they're responsible, that it means America supporting Israel's genocidal attack with its money and its equipment. It makes him complicitous as well, and also complicitous when you pull a lifeline, my brother.
Now, whether
you pull a lifeline of those precious children, you already killed 13,000 precious Palestinian children and 30,000. Now, the death of an innocent person, the killing of an innocent person is murder. I don't care who it is. If Hamas does it, it's wrong. If the Israeli Defense troops do it, it's wrong. If American troops do it, it's wrong. A life is a life, brother. I'm a Christian in the sense that every flag has to be under truth and under justice, no matter what nation we're talking about.
No, I know you've been very consistent on these issues over the years. President Biden, of course, is on the opposite side of both of those issues, whether it's Ukraine or Israel, foreign aid in general with this bill. And here was his argument that he made to the people at his event earlier today. Let's listen again to the president.
Just a few days ago, Trump gave an invitation to Putin to invade some of our allies, NATO allies. He said if an ally didn't spend enough money on defense, he would encourage Russia to, quote, do whatever the hell they want, end of quote. Can you imagine a former president of the United States saying that? The whole world heard it. The worst thing is he means it.
Now, that kind of is interesting, is what we were talking about a moment ago, when you were talking about Ukraine, is where you think this falls with what President Trump has said about NATO, how President Biden responds to it. You says, you know, the war should just end diplomatically, but that is easier said than done, right, Dr. West? I mean, you're dealing with Vladimir Putin here. He might, to President Biden's point, just keep going. Then what?
No, what I mean, but the thing is, what you don't want to do is just provoke people who already have gangster sensibilities. Putin's been a gangster for a long time, but Trump also was an American gangster. He's been living in cuckoo land in terms of saying anything he wants and think he can get away with it because he's got 25% of our fellow citizens who will follow him off the cliff. So we have to be clear about the differences in what people are saying. And all I'm saying is, we ought to have a morality and even a spirituality at this moment of overwhelming barbarity. And that's taking place in Gaza. That's taking place right now in the Ukraine. And it's in many other places. You know, we see it in Sudan. We see it in other parts of the world. And to tell you the truth, you know, we can come back home because I see it in the hood. I see it in reservations of indigenous peoples. I want some kind of morality and spirituality in the form of statesmanship. We got too many garden variety politicians that will say anything in order to gain access to big money and to gain access to the next election. That is the decline and fall of America as we understand it. If that's all we have to choose from. Can you imagine choosing between Trump leading us toward second civil war and Biden leading us toward the third world war, and that's the only choices we have?
Right. People don't like the choice.
My campaign is about, look, We've got to do better than that.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.